dark throne to Dr. Shrinker. Buckle up. Things are about to get heavy. This is the Metal Podcast. Let's rock and roll.
And welcome to another episode of the Metal Podcast, Halloween edition. I thought it was going to be the birthday edition because I had just recently had a birthday, but let's focus on Halloween. Hello, everybody. I am DJ, and I am joined, as always, with our fearless researcher, AC. How are you?
I'm feeling very spooky today. It's that time of the year. The wind is blowing, the leaves are a rustling, the jackals are howling, the moon's a filling. Halloween is in the air. Last week we had the guitar player from the spookiest band. Again, special thanks to Andy for coming on. We will have him back. But I'm doing good. And we have a very more casual, laid back episode where I'm not going to say too much because I'll bring it up at the very end. But we're going to be talking about some heavy metal movies. Now, DJ, have you heard of any of these movies? Well, before I told you about them.
I knew about the Trick or Treat movie, but I had never seen it. But the other ones I had never heard of, known about. Didn't really know about much of the bands, really.
Okay, so I will give, but before we prattle on anymore, we're going to be talking about the movies Rock and Roll Nightmare, Black Roses, and Trick or Treat. So I got into metal when I was in high school, and it was a whole new world, and I couldn't get enough of it. I wanted as much metal content as I could because everything was new. Just everything. And I'd heard metal before, but it just kept evolving in a positive way. Because my experiences with metal was new metal, and new metal is like the third worst thing on the planet. And so, I like, oh yeah, Iron Maiden, yeah, that band's good. Oh yeah, Motorhead, yeah, that band's good. Like, okay, check out Megadeth. Like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. Like, check out, whatever, pick a band.
King Diamond.
Sure. I found King Diamond. No one told me to check out King Diamond. It's like, I've heard of this band, but is this band good? Whoa. But yeah, so that was kind of the journey I was on. Like, King Diamond's a band. Like, what about this band Venom? Oh, Merciful Fate. Oh, Celtic Frost. Morbid Angel, Vader, Deicide, Cannibal Corpse. Oh my gosh, it just keeps going. And I didn't want just music. I wanted it as much as I could. Like, I was looking for TV programs where there was metal. I was looking for TV shows, like that episode of Married with Children that Anthrax was on.
Oh yeah.
I wanted as much as I could get, and I came upon these movies, Black Roses and Rock and Roll Nightmare, and well, of course, Trick or Treat. Now, I never got around to seeing them until several years later, because at the time, like, this was before Netflix, Amazon Prime, everything else. You had to
YouTube.
go rent. Yeah, you had to go rent a movie. And Blockbuster doesn't always carry.
They're not going to have Rock and Roll.
No, they're not going to have Rock and Roll Nightmare. They're gonna have 10 Things I Hate About You. What's Prince of Tides, Titanic, Schindler's List. They're not going to have trash B movies from the 80s.
Yeah, they only carry blockbusters at Blockbuster, apparently.
Yes, exactly. I mean, truth in advertisement. But, to paint the picture, back in the 80s, video was a new concept. Like, releasing something on VHS, that was relatively new. That started in the early 80s, and it didn't catch on until, towards the late 80s. But at the time, to buy a new movie on VHS, they were probably like $50. And that's, in 80s money, not like now money. So people weren't buying movies; they would just go rent them, and you rent them for a couple of bucks, and you would go to the mom and pop shop, and they would just need to fill shelves, and that's where a lot of this trash was made, because these movies they don't really have mainstream appeal. Like they're low budget horror films made by people that like heavy metal. It's the most niche market, even though there is a lot of crossover between horror fans and metal fans, but something that is for both. Not everyone that likes horror likes metal and vice versa, but now you have to have something that's both. And first off, we're talking about Rock and Roll Nightmare. Like this is as a low budget as it gets.
52,000. I thought I saw
for the budget.
Yeah,
I didn't go that far.
And they made like 400 grand. So it worked out.
That's pretty good. Yeah,
that's not bad.
Not a bad investment. I'm sure it didn't make anyone rich, and
right.
But still, that's for an investment of 50,000 to turn it into 400,000. That's still that's
and that's what 1988 when that movie came out.
88, 87, around there. And it is a really cheap, like terrible looking movie. Now there's some shots in it that look pretty good. Well, hold on. Okay. Like some of it, like sometimes like it looks like a real movie, but when it's following the characters and the semblance of the plot is progressing, it looks so cheap. Like I didn't know it was as cheap as it was, but even for that budget, it looks so cheap. But go on, what were you going to say?
Oh, just like the opening scene is like the camera just panning on this barn. It's like, and then
it seemed to me like what happened was they were just trying to use the camera in a way that looked nice.
Like the O's and the O's.
Yes.
That's kind of got me.
Yeah, it just looked like what they were doing is like, hey, like we can make it look. Have you ever seen the movie Halloween? Like Michael Myers.
Mm-hmm.
So it like in the beginning of the movie, like after he stabs his sister and like they take the mask off, there's a shot. It's on like a crane, and it zooms out to show the kid and the house. I think they had access to one of those cranes and they just wanted to use it. Like, look, we can shoot some stuff, and it was probably just like camera test footage, and then they just put it in the movie because they thought it looked good. Before we go any further, this is barely a movie.
Yeah, it's not a film. It's barely a movie.
Yeah. Well, but before we go on, could you tell me what the plot is?
The plot is a band goes out to like a farm with their manager and their girls to just get away. No TV, no radio or whatever, and they're just there to come up with a great album. No distractions. That's essentially the reason. But
okay, well,
demons.
Yeah, well, yes, and slowly one by one they get killed by demons that are somehow in the house. Now, can you tell me where these demons came from?
Besides coming from hell, apparently, or the edge of hell?
Yeah, like where did they come from? Why are they in that house?
I actually don't know, because the first scene is like the dad shaving, and then the mom gets like abducted by some demon in like the stove or something. Well,
and I was unclear. Was that the mom in the oven, or was that like a monster that was unrelated? Because I couldn't tell because the effect was so cheap.
Yeah,
it seems like a different movie in the beginning.
Yeah, it does. And then I guess the ending is kind of.
Well, we'll get to the ending. Okay,
I like to skip around.
Yeah, not a lot's happening, so I can see why you would want to skip around. But so we'll start off at the beginning.
Okay.
The
I like the manager. The manager is great.
Well, no. We're going to the very, very beginning.
Oh,
the very beginning. Yeah. So in the beginning,
spoiler alert.
Well, I mean, okay, yes. For all of these movies, there will be spoilers for them. Okay. So if you haven't seen Rock and Roll Nightmare, Black Roses, or Trick or Treat, not Trick or Treat, that's a different movie. Trick or Treat from like 1986. Go down to your local mom and pop video store and rent them on VHS, because they might not be playing at the local movie theater. So if you haven't seen them, go rent them if you don't want them spoiled. Otherwise, there will be spoilers. So the movie opens up with a family. We don't know anything about them. We don't know their names. There's no title scroll. There's no like Kansas City 1953 or so. No, it just opens on this family at a farmhouse, and they look like relatively normal people. They don't really look like farmers. They look like they could be like generic suburban family. Dad is shaving, kid, I don't know, doing something, and the mom is like cooking like Thanksgiving turkey or something.
Breakfast is ready.
Yeah.
I think the kid says like, "Don't eat without me."
Yeah, and then you hear a scream. Dad runs down, and mom's a skeleton.
Casual run.
Yeah.
That's not a brisk.
Yeah, and then it just cuts to the credits, where the band is driving down the highway in their van. Now, the point of a scene like that would be to set some things up. Like normally, like if like a regular person made this movie, or like someone who knew anything about how to tell a story, the opening would show them do it. Like dad's digging the new swimming pool, kids, or like the digging the well or something. And then he comes upon a portal to hell, and demons escape and kill the family. But instead, no, like people just die, and we don't know anything about them. And more spoilers, none of that pays off. So we don't like learn like old man Lester. He moved his family out here in 49, but after the crops wouldn't grow, he got desperate. So he sold his soul to Beelzebub in exchange for a bountiful harvest. And the devil always collects his debts. Or something like, nope, it's completely unexplained. Now there's the band just coming down. They're Canadian, by the way. Except for their drummer, who is like, he's not
worst accent ever.
Yeah, he's not just British, but he talks like the Muppets from the Venture Brothers. He's like, oi there, mate. Oi, what's going on there? Oi. It is the worst.
They always make
British
fun
accent.
of him though.
Yeah,
they make fun of him the most.
So the character is like a joke. Like there's a scene where he's like posing in front of the mirror and like flexing, but he has no muscle. He has like no definition at all. So there is the movie is it doesn't take itself seriously. Fortunately, it's played for a lot of it is played for laughs. But let me ask you: did you ever laugh for reasons that the movie wanted you to laugh?
Probably not. The things that made me laugh were like the Cyclops professor smoking the cigarette, that little monster thing.
Yes.
I thought that was good. The big toe Cyclops professor monster, whatever the heck it was. That thing was great.
Yeah, all the monsters that they were like, they looked like they were from like the Muppet Show. Like they looked, because they looked like cutesy.
Yeah, like they have a big budget for effects.
No, but the thing is, they didn't look like they attempted to make them scary, because there were two shots. Like there was like a guy turned into like a zombie. The manager.
Oh yeah.
Well, I guess a girl did too, but like they just recycled the same like rubber glove that was like a ghoul hand, and it was like one of the worst like spirit Halloween masks and gloves I've ever seen. And then like a girl turned into like she had like a monster mouth, and that also looked pretty terrible.
Yeah, it was not good.
No, I did laugh a few times, but
good quotes.
Yeah, go ahead. Tell me
like,
your favorite.
Like, let's tune our weapons, or let's go cut some grease. My favorite scene, one of the favorite scenes, was when they were doing the dishes in the assembly line style. Like it seemed so much fun. The music, like every scene had like a good song. Like that this movie had the best music, pound for pound, like soundtrack wise.
We'll
get into the other movies of the three, but I thought the music was great. Like I could have just watched them in the barn the whole time, playing their instruments.
Well, what song was your favorite? Because we're going to be skipping around because we don't need to go like beat for beat for what the plot is. Because spoilers, there pretty much is no plot. There's no actual story progression of like take a movie like Nightmare on Elm Street, where it's like, oh, this person died in their dreams. Like, oh, what happened? Oh, but you were there. No, someone else was there. I couldn't see him. Oh, by the way, there's this guy, and he used to kill people, and we killed him. Oh, by the way, if you die, like, actual plot. This movie has none of that. So, that being said, which song was your favorite?
I liked I forgot how he started it, but it was like, "See you around, old Scratch," and then went into the energy song.
The one when he's fighting at the very end?
No, that's the challenge.
Yes.
That's the challenge. That one's great too, but no,
that was my favorite.
Energy, what you wanna need. I don't know.
Was that after the first person went missing?
I think so.
Yeah,
it's one of the songs they played. I think the girl was like on the keyboards. Or something
yes, like they did two songs that like oh, let's rehearse or whatever, and then like the whole band.
We Live to Rock. That was good.
Yeah,
but yeah, Energy was great. But yeah, the challenge at the end was great.
That one's my favorite.
Oh, Edge of Hell. I like that. I think that's how the movie. I think it's how it opened and closed. At least closed.
Yeah. So the music was mostly done by a guy named John Mickle Thor, who had a band. I believe the band is just called Thor.
Yeah, it is.
And he was kind of like a cartoon character. He was a bodybuilder, and he would do like really over the top, goofy antics. It was kind of like Manowar.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But more silly, and he never really caught on as far as the mainstream went. And the songs are all good. He has a documentary called I Am Thor. It's supposed to be pretty good. I haven't watched it yet. I would like to see if we could get him on the show, but I have not been able to find an efficient way of getting in touch with him.
One of our to-dos, but that would be cool. Because it says here, I mean, he's a Canadian bodybuilding champion, actor, songwriter, screenwriter, historian, vocalist, and musician. I like the part in the movie where I think the bassist goes missing or is like with the girl. He's like, "Yeah, let him have his fun with the girl. I'll play bass on this song."
Yes, I do remember that. He looks really funny.
That was Energy, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I don't remember if that was. I thought the first one was where the girl was playing the keyboard.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't remember, but I do remember that. And his hair was always very hilariously teased. Like it wasn't quite poison, but it did look really funny. Yeah, gosh.
Yeah, and I liked what he was wearing at the rehearsal. It was like this gray cheetah print vest.
Constantly, he was wearing very bizarre outfits. Like there was like one scene.
He had a cape.
One scene he looked like Dick Van Dyke or like Bob Newhart or something. Like at the end when he's writing, like right before the fight, right before his the ultimate wardrobe change.
Oh, that was bad. I didn't like that.
I loved that. That was the best.
Too much. That was too much.
No. That was the right amount because of the studs.
This is where we are going to disagree.
I'm gonna change your mind on this. But we'll get into that when we get into that whole epic scene.
Yes.
But there's a part where he's wearing like red and red pajamas with white polka dots. He is dressed so strangely because the rest of them look like not like a band, but people that go to like CBGBs in the 80s or something like that's what they all looked like. They looked like people that like they were like mods or punk rockers. Like that was another weird thing. Like his band didn't look like a heavy metal band. Which kind of begs the question, like so John Micklethor wrote the movie.
Wow.
And it was directed by John Fasano, who he did a handful of movies, but
Black Roses.
He did Black Roses. That's the only reason I knew about these movies, because I stumbled upon them just while looking for heavy metal themed movies. And I just found the director that made multiple ones. Well, he described himself as a metalhead, but so John Micklethor writes this movie, and he is in a metal band. He is a metal guy, and John Fasano directs this movie. Calls himself a metalhead, but none of the bandmates look like metal guys, especially for 1987. How hard is it to get someone to look like they're in a metal band? I know the budget's low, but how expensive is a wig?
Or even like a bullet belt or something.
A leather jacket.
Yeah, something.
Yeah, like all of them, they really do. They look like greasers almost.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. Yeah, another thing that made me laugh too was when the girl was like, she's like, that's when I knew music was going to be my life. I feel like I'm opening up my soul for the audience and for you. And he's just passed out asleep as she turns around. I forgot. He was like, I think he's one of the guitarists, or I forgot what instrument he played. I think the guitar, but it wasn't John Micklethor. But that was great. Fantastic. He was sleeping with his guitar. Yes, I think he was a guitarist.
That was an actual funny joke. But for the most part, most of the humor in it is really bad.
Oh, yeah, it's terrible.
Okay, so what was everybody's name?
Oh, I don't remember. John had his real name.
His name was John. That confused me initially because I was like, wait, is he just supposed to be himself in this? His name was like John Steele, or he had some really stupid name.
The manager, he's like, I'm the Wonder Manager. And they're like, it's a wonder he's our manager. I think it was like Phil or something.
I was going to say, wasn't someone named like Bobby? Oh, yeah. Phil was the manager. So
then the group of teenagers, that scene was great. Do you remember that?
I did like that.
Over to the house.
Yes, and then he spoke in the monster voice to let you know that he was demon possessed.
Well, you kind of knew that, but he just goes,
I didn't know that.
He's like, he just like got eaten or whatever by that one chick.
And that was him who got eaten?
Yeah. And they're like, where did he go? Like, we don't need him. They're like, he took the van to go get drunk in the town.
I thought that was a band member.
No, that was him. That was because he's like, I'm going to look for the drumsticks in the basement.
And that's why I thought it was a band member, because he was looking for
it was him. That's why I was like, that's why it was weird. No, you're supposed to know. But he goes, yeah, so let's whip out those breasts, girls.
Yeah.
You girls were here for the job, for road groupies. We have 4 openings for road groupies. So you travel with the band, you grind the cocaine, you scream and faint in the audience, and you keep the costumes pressed. Now, I don't have all night, so let's whip out those bazooms, huh, babes?
Well, see, I actually like that scene. That was the only scene in the whole movie that felt like there was elevation. Like, okay, he gets eaten by a demon. See, I didn't pick up on. I just assumed that off screen he had gotten possessed, and it was because all these people are so generic, except for Thor. they're all
Yeah, he's
so
great.
generic looking that I couldn't tell most of them apart.
Well, and they're bad acting too.
Yeah, and they're not memorable at all. Like there needed to be like the one with the big crazy like poofy black hair, and like maybe the bald one, maybe like a really tall. Like they needed to have characteristics, but this isn't a real movie. This is like something
This
else.
was like
This
to
is like
promote an album, or like, hey, let's be
I
in a
guess.
movie, guys.
Okay, you remember Michael Jackson made it was like the Moonwalker thing, and he did another thing called like Ghosts.
I think so.
Yeah, and it was pretty much just they were like little like specials that were made to promote the albums. That's kind of what this was, except everything is so wrong. But the scene when like these girls come in, which they're in like a secluded rural area, so they were able to find this band. I know that like the girl says like my mom works at the real estate office. That's how I found them. But
right.
But yeah, it's not easy to get to those types of places, especially like in this era where there's no GPS. You know, you don't have Google Maps on your phone to find it.
Well, I thought they were going to that. The girls were going to that house because they wanted to go to like an empty house, and that house had been abandoned for 10 years, and the mom was a realtor for that house, and they're like, "Oh,
no." The girl's like, "I'm the president of the fan club."
Oh, that's yeah. I guess you're right.
Yeah,
that's weird. Yeah, that's
no,
weird.
It's just total coincidence, but. I'll do the fantasy that this band is actually like a super popular band, like like Dethklok, where somehow Dethklok is the biggest band in the world. Like just for some reason, a death metal band is the biggest band in the world. I'm fine with that. I'll go with that for the sake of this movie. But like every scene is just stuff happens. Like I will get to what I do think is like the worst scene in any movie. You may not be thinking about it until I bring it up, and then you'll probably agree with me. But that scene is to establish that the guy is demon possessed. Like, okay, so something is happening as a consequence of being in this house, and there is like a monstrous presence. Like that was perfectly fine. The setup for it was totally stupid. But the scene itself, I was okay, hey, no problem. How many scenes actually affected the I don't want to call it plot, but the story progression?
I mean, there was a scene now that when I hear the song, I could just think of the scene. It's the Somewhere song. Somewhere. Do you know what song I'm talking about? When
No.
Thor is in the shower. It's like a shower scene with the girl.
I remember that scene, yes.
Well, that's the song playing the whole time.
No, I'm not saying. I'm talking about specifically a scene that sets up something that happens. Like, this scene happens, which leads to the next scene. Instead of just stuff happens. Instead of like, here's a scene where John Mickle Thor, he's writing.
And he
drops his pen. He drops his pen. Yeah. And then
the pterodactyl thing jumps over his head, and then he comes back up.
Right. Until the end, nothing like that happens. We will get to the end because the end is worth talking about, but we just have to set everything else up. But until that point, like, was there a scene in the middle that established like there was one scene where Thor was like looking around a room for way too long, but it didn't do anything. Like there was no like he's looking around and he notices that Phil's shoe is over there. But Phil was just wearing both of his shoes. So there was
people would go missing and then it wouldn't affect.
No, it didn't. Like there was never like, hey, why? Yeah. Like, hold on, we should go looking for him. No, it's like, they'll be fine. Don't worry. We came here specifically for no distractions, but somehow all these guys are distracted and gone. Now, there's a reason behind it. Do you want to just get to the ending, or do you want to talk about everything else up until then? Like, do you want to get everything else out of the way?
Well, like part of the ending where he does like fight the demon. I love when he.
We'll get. We got to start over. Hold on. We got to start at the beginning of the ending.
Beginning of the ending.
Yeah. So everyone.
Only the beginning.
Everyone is gone. Everyone is gone. Actually, I do want to talk about the worst scene. What do you think I believe is the worst scene ever in this movie? And I think it's like the worst scene in any movie. But what do you think I'm referring to?
There's kind of a lot to choose from, I guess. But
if you had to pick one, go ahead.
It has to deal with that pterodactyl lizard thing jumping over Thor's head.
No, that was in the best scene ever in any movie. What are you talking about? No, the worst scene ever is that overly long shower scene.
Oh, that's what I already mentioned.
Yeah, you mentioned it, and it's and then like
you didn't like that?
No, I didn't, and I also didn't like. There's two reasons I don't like it. But there's like for no reason. There's just a shot of Thor's ass.
Yeah.
That was uncomfortable.
You got to show it off. Apparently.
Yeah. It just goes on for way too long, and it doesn't add anything. Yeah, it doesn't add anything substantial. And they could have done something clever with it. But so that girl and Thor are the only people left. So Thor has intimate relations with a girl in the shower for like 5 minutes, and it's really terrible.
Yeah, they play the song twice.
Yep, which is always something that irks me when they reuse songs in movies.
Oh yeah,
but it's set up that girl is actually Beelzebub. So, and the twist is Thor knew all along.
Yes.
But Thor had sex with Beelzebub.
Yeah, that part was confusing because he was like turning her down the whole time, and she was all butthurt about it. And then he intercessor.
Yes. He is an angel known as the Intercessor, and he created all of his bandmates, their illusions, to trick the demon Beelzebub. And after he essentially trolls Beelzebub for so long that Beelzebub comes out of hiding so that Thor can fight. Now, this is where it doesn't make any sense, because that I understand, like, as a premise, like, okay, that's a thing that someone will do, and Thor says that that's what he did, but he didn't troll Beelzebub into coming out of hiding. He just tells the girl that he knows that she is Beelzebub. But what he says is, I knew if you couldn't take my antics long enough, that you would just come out of hiding. But he came out of hiding because he told her that he knew that she was Beelzebub. So this is like the worst written movie ever. Nothing makes any sense. But at the end,
there's a sequel.
There is a sequel. I don't know anything about it. I know it exists.
No,
It came out
neither do
like 20 years
2005,
ago.
I think.
Yeah. So 18 years ago.
Mhm.
So John Mickle Thor, initially, like he's talking to the girl and he's like, I'm gonna go finish writing this song. And he goes down, like, this is when he's dressed like Bob Newhart. He's wearing like a green V-neck sweater vest or something. It's a very odd outfit.
Yeah.
For this guy. And then these puppets start like trying to get him, and like, yes, so he's writing and he drops a pen, and then the director off screen throws like a Play-Doh puppet at him. It looks like Stretch Armstrong, but it's got like but it kind of looks like a starfish, and it's got like a silly puppet mouth, and he throws it at him, and then he ducks. And then like there's a part where he's drinking Coke, and then something's like creeping up on the desk, and then he puts a Coke can on its hand, and it's like a wacky Home Alone style reaction where the thing's like, oh no, it hurts my hand. I can't get this can of Coke off of it. But if I can't, like, it's just a can of Coke. Like, and he just places it on there and it traps the thing under. So, like, clearly they had all these ideas that, like, I get what you're trying to do, but it doesn't work when it's translated. By the way, did you see the Coke cans that were on the doorways?
I don't think I remembered that.
Yeah, throughout the movie, there's like random Coke cans in the background. Well, it's not like product placement because you have to look for it.
Yeah.
Like, just the person who decorated the sets just decided, like, hey, let's just put some like Coke cans up here because I guess there's not enough going around or going on in the background. So we need to fill up the space. Like, you know, like they'll like hang up a painting, but instead they didn't have any paintings because the budget was so low. But what they had were cans of Coke.
Just drink some Coke.
So they put some Coke cans in the background. But what happens is he reveals his plan, and then he turns into an angel, and he's wearing like a Speedo with studs on it.
No, dude, it's so bad.
A cape and boots. It is the funniest costume I have ever seen.
It's a tough look.
Because of the studs on the Speedo. That's what sells it. It is so ridiculous looking. It's so funny. I've never seen something so silly before.
No, and that's the outfit to battle a demon with.
Yes. Yes. Like what do you make an like a badass archangel look like?
And then they even like poofed up his hair a little bit.
They poofed up his hair a lot. Yeah, they teased it. They put all the aerosol.
This is his transformation.
Yes. But and the way that he's flexing, like, did you ever watch that TV show? Like the TV show of The Incredible Hulk?
With Lou Ferrigno?
Yeah, like when he would transform and like flex, he would go like, "Arr, arr." But like John Mickle Thor is like doing that, but while he's doing it, it's completely silent.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, there's no sound being
There's no sound. Like he needs to be going like, because, you know, he's still looking, you know, pretty vascular at the time, but he's just like, he's like kind of flexing, but he doesn't go all the way. But it's really awkward. And that's the only way I can really describe the movie. It's awkward. And there's other stuff that we didn't mention. Like there's one scene where the little kid from the beginning shows up and he's just in the house and then he runs away. Yeah, and they're like, "Hey, there's a little boy. Let's go follow him."
Yeah.
Just everything.
Not the manager that goes missing, but this little possessed boy. Let's go find him.
Yeah, and I guess you can dismiss it because they're all illusions created by Thor. Now, this is where I think there's a little bit of creativity, and it is kind of clever. So all the characters are completely flat, forgettable, boring, uninteresting. They're all stereotypes. They're all following movie cliches. But Thor straight up says to the demon, I created them based on all the horror movies that I've seen. So everyone is pretty much just a simulacrum of a horror movie character. So that's why nothing makes any sense. And I do want to give the movie credit in this regard, because the movie's not very long. It's less than 90 minutes. Yeah. It's like an hour and 20 minutes or something. Yeah, it's pretty short. And all of it is this build up to Thor fighting Beelzebub. Now, if you look at the cover of the DVD and you see what Beelzebub looks like, it does kind of look like that in the movie, but it looks like an action figure. Like its arms are like ball and socket. And like the way they move, it's clearly not a guy in a rubber costume. It's probably puppeteered. It looks really, really bad.
A long fight scene too.
Yeah, and the way he's wrestling with it looks like he's like holding it and he's moving it himself. Like John Thor is the puppeteer.
Yeah, but you gotta go back a little bit, because the way the fight scene starts is the like demon monster or Beelzebub starts throwing green starfish.
Oh yes, how could I forget? Yes.
They have like little tentacle. Like I don't even know.
They look kind of like Stretch Armstrong starfish. That's what it looks like. That's the best way to describe it.
Like literally like starfish. I'm like, is he having starfish thrown at him?
Yeah, then they do that joke in The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's like catching them in slow motion, and it's meant to be all dramatic, but he's catching these things that look like they're like from the set of Family Double Dare. And he's like, and he's not catching them in like a dramatic, heroic, badass way. He's like, he's trying to like cup them against his chest, like he can't drop them.
Yeah, he probably just isn't good at catching things. So.
Well, that's what it looks like. It's everything about it is wrong. Which the movie is poorly made. It's low budget, it's cheap, the acting is really bad, but the ending is actually somewhat clever because it justifies the terrible characters and the lack of a plot, because all it is just it's an angel has created a fantasy to lure out a demon so he could fight it in the ultimate battle of good versus evil. But that begs the question, how did he get there?
Is that usually what, yeah.
How did the demon get there? Go ahead. Ask your question.
No, usually that's what the demon tries to do to the angel, try to lure them out in some sort of trick, or like, oh, reveal yourself. You're really an angel, you'd be able to like jump off this cliff and not be hurt or whatever. It's funny that the angel is trying to lure the demon out.
Yeah, what was the point of the family in the beginning?
Maybe they're the actual demons. No, I don't know, because no one's safe. Everyone's a target. Except
it was at that farmhouse. See, that really just shows the actual problem with the script. Because if you had a few little tweaks, the ending could be completely justified. But it doesn't explain the family. Like, it doesn't explain. It explains why nobody cares that these people go missing. It explains why these people act so irrationally. It doesn't explain why, like, what he should have been doing was, well, this is the stupid thing though. Because he's like, I'm trying to lure you out, but he created everyone else. But he knew that girl wasn't created. So why didn't he just fight her? Like in the beginning. And didn't she ride with him?
I think so. And why did he have sex with her? Like we already asked.
Well, not just that, but let's go back. So he this girl arrives in the van with the band. Turns out to be Beelzebub. So that crosses off, like you could say, like Well, the family died there because this is, where Beelzebub dwells, and this family built their house on Beelzebub's earthly territory. And then, that's why the intercessor, he picks that place to record with his quote unquote band, because that's where there's been all these Beelzebub emanations coming from. But if he picked Beelzebub up in Toronto, so then what happened to that family there? Why did he bring Beelzebub, who's seemingly in Toronto, back to this place? Nothing makes any sense, except like the ending does make sense for some things, but nothing leading up to that's unrelated from the characters he created makes any sense.
Yeah, I didn't understand it.
No,
I watched it a few times and
yeah, I didn't watch it a few times, but I went through several scenes several times. I watched the end a few times because I like the ending.
I mean, the fight scene or the song is really cool.
I like the song
to be a part of any fight scene.
Accept the challenge. Oh, that song's cool. There's a lot of cool Thor songs. Whoa!
No, the movie's worth a watch.
Anger,
just be aware of the
anger is my middle name. There's a lot of cool stuff.
I can't believe you don't remember the Energy song. It's so good.
I do. I need to go back and not watch the movie, but listen to the song.
Just listen to the song.
Yeah, so
you'll remember the movie just listening to the song.
I remember liking the songs. I just don't remember all of them as much because I only watched a few scenes over and over. Like I watched the movie once, and then I watched several of the scenes, and that was pretty much the thought process. But so this movie is pretty embarrassing and mostly pathetic and awkward.
Yeah,
but I'll tell you. What?
Thank you for making us watch it.
No, well, but my point is I was looking for this and stuff like this when I was in high school. I would have been all about this. And then our friend Baby would be like, this movie sucks. I'd be like, no, dude, it's heavy metal. In a movie, like we don't have anything like this.
Yeah, exactly. At least
like
they're trying.
Yeah, like we are such a subculture. Like we don't have anything. Like Juggalos have 2 movies that don't just have the Insane Clown Posse in them, but they have many artists from their like rap stable in them. And not just that, but there are movies that are made by Juggalos where the Insane Clown Posse did the music for, and there's this one movie I can't remember what it's called. Oh, maybe it is. Okay, maybe it is the Insane Clown Posse movie, like the Misfits show up. Yeah, I guess Big Money Hustlers. I don't recommend anyone watch the Insane Clown Posse movies. The second one's actually kind of funny. The first one's just so terrible. But if you are a Juggalo and you're into Insane Clown Posse, it's like absolute fan service. There's nothing like that for metal. Now there is actually a decent metal movie called Deathgasm.
Oh, I haven't heard of that.
You haven't heard of Deathgasm? We've talked about it on our server.
We have?
Yeah. If you go to the announcements section, you'll see something for it.
Oh, is that the ice cream meme thing?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Now that movie's actually competently made and well written. It is I don't think it's a great movie, but as far as being a heavy metal themed, it's not really a horror film. It's really violent and gory. But there's nothing actually scary because it's basically just a comedy with a bunch of fake blood in it, which is fine. It works as a comedy and it has some Evil Dead, Dead Alive style like action sequences. But it is like a heavy metal movie, and how many heavy metal movies actually exist? We'll say there's Deathgasm, Rock and Roll Nightmare, Black Roses, Trick or Treat, Spinal Tap.
Yeah. Is Almost Famous a metal movie?
No, it's a rock and roll movie. I guess you could say
Oh no, I'm thinking of Rockstar.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking of.
yeah, yeah. It's good enough. It's a little melodramatic and
I was
silly.
gonna say, like, what like metal movies aren't like horror themed? Are there any? But I guess the Rockstar could be. It's not a horror
Yeah,
film.
Rockstar is
It's not
like
like a fan
because it's
type
supposed to be
movie.
Judas Priest, but it really
Yeah.
waters down the music to sound
Oh yeah.
like really generic 80s rock, like like no edge at all. Like that song, "Stand Up and Shout," like so generic, no edge. Like it's, I don't know if you like. That's a movie for people that like Led Zeppelin, not for people that like Judas Priest.
Yeah.
But there's such a small amount of movies that are for people that like heavy metal. Like, and it was popular enough that they could have gotten away with making more stuff, but like this was all they got, and this was pretty much just a movie made by fans of the genre. Like, this was no some big studio saying like, "Oh, it's the heavy metal's popular. You know, that's what the kids are into these days." Like, give the kids some heavy metal crap in a movie form. You know, we'll pay a couple million and we'll make 50 million. Yeah, no, this was made by people that just wanted to make it.
Yeah, and Rock and Roll Nightmare didn't have any like big actors or anybody.
No, well, I don't know. John Michael Thor seems pretty big.
Well, yeah.
How tall do you think
he wrote it? How tall? He's what?
He seems pretty big.
6'2".
Is he?
You think
born
he's
in 1953? I don't know. I mean, he looks pretty big.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay, so he was in the movie. Well, a lot of bodybuilders are short.
Yeah, that is true. That's why I didn't think he'd be like real tall, but he looks pretty big in the movie.
Yeah, but then again, he could be next to a lot of short people.
And he could be wearing those boots.
Now, yeah, that too. He could be wearing like the Kiss boots. So it says here that John Michael Thor appeared in the movie Dungeon Master. Do you know what that is?
I don't.
So that's a movie. It's got like 5 or 6 segments. It's not a terrible movie, but it's not particularly interesting. The only thing interesting about it for us is that Wasp makes an appearance.
Oh, that's cool.
Yes. So there's a scene because it was made by the guy who made the movie Ghoulies. Do you know that movie?
Unfamiliar.
Or Ghoulies 2?
Oh yeah, no.
Okay, well there's a Wasp song on the soundtrack. Scream until you like it, never gonna stop. Yeah, it's a great song. So they made this song for that movie. So this guy had access to him. So he made a movie where there's a band playing at some skeevy location, and it's Wasp, and they're playing Tormentor.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So that's the only notable thing about the movie. But yeah.
Well, in one of the movies we're gonna get into, I saw that Blackie Lawless was supposed to play the rock and roll hero.
Yes, Sammy Kerr.
We'll have to get into that later. But we
there's
do
a
need to get
few
back.
people.
Yeah, and Black Roses actually had some. I wouldn't call them big time actors, but it was more of a movie.
It had that
film.
Yeah. There's some faces that we recognize.
It's a good.
Well, just the one face, really.
The Soprano.
Yes, exactly. The guy that didn't want to take his clothes off.
Exactly.
I
didn't want to take his clothes off.
Well, it's the scene from The Sopranos.
Oh yeah.
Where he's like, take your clothes off.
A
yeah, exactly. He's wearing a wire. Yeah, spoilers.
What was his name in The Sopranos? I forgot.
I don't want to say his name. It's inappropriate.
It's true. Like a cat.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
An old timey word for a cat. But yeah, so that's the I've already forgotten the name of the movie. Rock and Roll Nightmare. That's
I
Rock
thought
and
the
Roll
movie was
Nightmare.
called. I thought it was called Edge in Hell for a while because the credits make it sound like it's Edge in Hell because that's like the title.
I think that was the original title for it. It had
because it's named
Edge
it's
of
real
Hell
confusing.
and Archangel were the original like working titles for it.
Okay. But the official name or release is Rock and Roll Nightmare.
Yeah. Well, yes. Like if you go on the Wikipedia, it says also known as the Edge of Hell. So it's probably like when it first came out, or possibly some areas like in the, like released in the Philippines as Edge of Hell or something. Like, I don't know. Who knows?
Not me.
But so what did you think about Rock and Roll Nightmare?
I am glad I watched it because now I'm more aware of the band Thor, and I really liked the music. Like the music was really good, and they were trying. Like we can nitpick like each scene, and they didn't use like CG wasn't around. They didn't they're using like some crappy puppets. Like
They're really
whatever. Like we're fans of the the genre. I'll give them a pass. But
yeah, so
it's worth watching.
okay, yeah. So I think it is an entertaining movie, and everything terrible about it works in its favor. And I don't like to use the term like, oh, it's so bad that it's good.
Yeah, right.
Because bad is not good. That's a contradiction. Yes, but it's consistently entertaining. Like the things that don't make sense are funny. The twist at the end is actually awesome. It is really pathetic and embarrassing. It's not like a John Wick fight or like Ong Bak, but it is a really funny. It is just so poorly made that it is wonderful. But all the music is good.
Yep. Every scene's got good music.
Yeah. So it for all the things it does wrong, it does do some things right. Like all the music is really cool, and at least the music isn't as poorly produced as the movie. So it almost feels like a companion piece for Thor's music. So
that's kind of how it felt. Yeah.
Well, that being said, let's take a break. And what music do we have this week?
All right, yeah, it's nice. It's we got back to our regular playlist, playing songs from our friends. So this week we have a really cool band. They've been around for over 25 years. They've got 11 albums, so this was tough to choose between all these great, amazing songs. But we have Blood Red Throne, Ithaca, and that's off the album Imperial Congregation. And it's funny, I'm looking at the band members. You've got Daniel on guitar, Ivan on guitar, Freddie on drums, Dean on bass, and I can't pronounce the vocalist's name, but he goes by Bolt. But it's funny, the bassist has a very similar last name to mine. One letter is different, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, go check out Blood Red Throne, Ithaca off of the Imperial Congregation album. Thank you guys, and see you on the other side.